afternoon, and welcome to the latest episode of the Pate Group and Joy of SharePoint Binge-worthy webinar series, all about teams. We are so happy that you have come to join us. We hope everybody is staying safe, healthy, and dare I say sane during what here in Oklahoma is week 3 of quarantine. So we're hoping this webinar series will be part of your quarantine and chill routine, right?
Yeah.
Kick back, learn, right? Plus, Richard, I don't know. I don't think your quarantine has much chill factor built into it because you're 24/7 working in parent to small children.
That is true. That is true. We've got a few small kids around the house, and so that in and of itself makes quarantine a bit of a unique experience, I guess, from that perspective. But we're managing. We're making our way through it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I will introduce myself for those of you that haven't joined one of our webinars in the past or one of the Joy of SharePoint webinars. I am Joy Apple. I am a modern workplace strategist and the lead trainer with Pate Group. And I also host the Joy of SharePoint webinar series. I've been in the Microsoft space for going on 12 years this year. No other place I would rather be. I've done farm admin, training, consulting, and now I do a little bit of everything. Richard, my coworker and colleague at Pate Group, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Thanks, Joy. Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Richard Calderon with Pate. I live in lovely Austin, Texas, although we don't get to enjoy the outdoors as much as we would like these days. But I, just like Joy, am also a modern workplace strategist and consultant at Pate. What that really means is we specialize in Microsoft 365 services, trying to ensure that there is an overarching strategy and a plan that aligns both the technology to deliver as well as what the business drivers are, what the business outcome that you're really trying to focus on. Why are you leveraging these tools? How can they transform your business, et cetera? So that's what we do. And we love talking about these types of things, and Microsoft Teams is awesome. And that's why we wanted to set up this webinar series with all of you. Moving ahead here briefly, we're going to just continue with the similar format that we did before. We got a couple of poll questions here that just kind of help us get a sense of who's in the room and some things that might be relevant to us when we're talking about this particular episode, which we're going to focus all about chat. We're going to get pretty chatty here today inside of Teams. And so you should see the poll questions either as links in the Q&A, or if you have your phone handy, you could also just whip it out. Pop open your camera and then scan this QR code to take you directly to the poll. And so what I'm going to do is flip over to some of the poll responses here briefly so that we can just sort of get a sense of who's in the room, etc. This is actually number 2, so let's go to number 1. Okay, so hopefully here briefly some folks will start jumping in. Okay, great. Got some folks responding here now, so thanks again for your participation here. It helps us get an understanding as to who's in the room. This, by the way, if for those of you that hadn't seen it before, we'll probably do at least a portion, if maybe not an entire webinar, centered around what's called Microsoft Forms. That is one of the many, many applications and tools inside of Microsoft 365 that allows you to do the things that you're seeing here. You can use them for surveying or doing some quizzes or some polls and things of that nature. And then you've got some really simple ways that you can have these visualizations to help you understand the responses. So again, we've got about 16 or so responses at the moment, a number of people from profiling themselves as IT pros, a number of folks from the business or director level. Again, thanks for joining us. And so what I'd encourage you to do is anywhere along the way, feel free to just hit the QR code, jump in and respond to these poll questions, because we're happy to get those responses throughout the session here today. Flipping back to question number 2, again, as we're talking about chat, we want to kind of get an understanding of what are some of the common ways that you tend to communicate with your coworkers. Again, we've all historically had kind of our preference of ways that we tend to get in touch with people whenever we need to ask a question or get some understanding as to what's going on. So poll question number 2 is very much centered around what tools or what ways do you tend to communicate? So I think there's some interesting results coming in here now. Email is obviously extremely popular. Phone calls also, you really can't replace just picking up a phone and getting a chance to speak to somebody in real time. Looks like walking over to your desk is also pretty popular. I didn't include, just sort of shouting out over the cubes as an option here. I know that's something that Joy is a big fan of.
That was my suggestion.
Yep. But, we've got a few others here who also are kind of text messengers. Maybe you just, are comfortable most often with using your phone for that purpose. Or we've got some folks that tend to use a chat-based tool of some sorts as well. And of course, meetings is also, an extremely popular way to do things too. So again, thanks for your responses there. And then poll question number 3, if your organization does currently use some sort of a real-time communications chat-based tool, which one is it? And maybe you have more than one. And so we've got a couple of different options here that we put out for you to give us a sense of what you use today. So Skype for Business, do you use Cisco Jabber? Slack tends to be a pretty popular one. Hey, got one already just right off the bat using Microsoft Teams. That's fantastic. Again, that's going to be a very familiar conversation for you here today. And we're talking about chat inside of Teams. So, and again, happy to put that QR code back up there again for those of you that want to just pull your phone out and scan the code.
I'll do it.
Okay, sure.
I'll skew our numbers.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Great when someone on the inside. Let me see.
Okay,
Do I want to put Slack or Jabber?
Don't skew them too far now at this point, okay? All right, so let's see. Got a few more responses coming in. And let's see who's winning so far. It looks like we've got a lot from Microsoft Teams, which is fantastic.
Yes.
Again. So, that is certainly something that we lean heavily towards, and we certainly encourage our customers. If you're on Skype for Business still today, by the way, for those of you that may not know, Microsoft has announced, they've announced for some time now that they are shutting down that service in the cloud that is Skype for Business Online by mid-2021. So that sounds like it's a long way away, but we're already in April 2020. So the truth is it's really about a year out. And as we know, upgrading or migrating from one service to another can take some time and some planning. So I'd encourage you, IT pros that own that in your business, to certainly reach out to us if you'd like. But if you hadn't already started thinking about some plans for migrating from Skype for Business Teams, you can't start too soon, to put it that way. Okay. All right. So thanks everyone again for weighing in on the polls. You want to go ahead and grab the screen share on your end here, Joy, and that way you can drive. Okay.
I would love to. Are you sure you want to share? Yeah, I'm sure. I'm just going to kick Richard right out of the way. Share my desktop. So that is one thing I will say. Live meetings and Teams meetings are the same. In Skype, if you're sharing, the person that's sharing has to stop sharing before somebody else can come pick it up. Mm-hmm. Not in Teams. You can just kick anybody out of the way. It's kind of cool. You have the power. But, of course, Mama taught you got to use your manners. So we don't want to do that too much, right? Okay, so let's chat about chat. First off, what the heck is Teams anyway? In case you are brand new to Teams, it is a chat-based communication platform. I will say sometimes people roll their eyes when you say that because they're like, chat, what's so important about chat? You chat on your own time. Mm-hmm. Not really. It's an important feature for communication. It's also a collaboration hub for your important and relevant files and documents. It's a meeting hub where we can do our calls and our video capabilities, just like Skype for Business. Or if we got anybody from the old school that remembers live meeting? Yeah. So I do too. We've come a long way. But it is really a hub for your teamwork. And chat truly is the center of that. I find that I live in the chat tab. I don't want to say more than anywhere else, but it's probably a good plurality of my time is there. That is going to be the second button down on your left rail. So activity and then chat. That's where we're going to be living today. And then I, for some reason, decided to put a screenshot of what chat looks like, even though at this point, I'm just going to open up Teams. Because we want to actually do it, not just talk about it, right? So I've come to chat. And
Thanks,
this is
Joy.
Yes, ma'am.
We have, well, a question, a comment.
Okay.
There's lots of confusion surrounding chat, conversations, and posts. Very hard to explain to users. Those who don't want to use workspace feature of Teams still need to know about chat. Can you please be sure to clarify?
Oh, I would love to. That is fantastic. So chat, which is what we're focusing on today, is our, I'm going to say one-to-one conversation, or even like a small group conversation. And when I say that, so if you look at my activity here under chat, you see I've got a chat with Holly, Stacy, and Stephanie. See, when I hover, it shows who that's in. That's where the three of us can talk about things that are, it may be a variety of topics. When are we going to do the next virtual happy hour? And we're making a decision before we actually go put that information in the company team. Richard and I chat. Richard was awesome and grabbed our QR codes for LinkedIn and threw them in the slide deck literally seconds before we went live. So this is where we were handling that. Could we have done this in our webinar channel in the marketing team? Could have, but everybody else on the marketing team really wouldn't care so much if we went in and cluttered it up. So chat, this chat button on the left rail, that's our one-on-one chat. It's very clean. It's like instant messaging inside of Skype for Business. You would send an IM. It's where one or a couple of people talk, variety of topics, variety of conversations, sometimes personal, some mostly work related, right? Like I might holler at Stacy later, be like, hey, I heard there was a news update from New York. How's it going? Right? So one-on-one conversations. It is persistent. So you have full history in your chat. That's a big difference from Skype for Business. Skype for Business, you would have to like go back into the conversations folder that was in Outlook and really dig to go find something someone said to you a month ago. It was actually a very frustrating process. Here I can just scroll up. Now, out of respect for our clients, I'm not going to do a whole heck of a lot of scrolling up because there's going to be some client talk in here. But I can go a little bit up right here. So this is where we're sharing resources, talking about prepping for today's webinar. It's our one-on-one conversation. So to clarify the next question, posts, I'm going to click on the Teams tab just so we can look at that. Oh, there's our webinars team. I'm going to go into my demo team just to kind of keep it generic. If you're talking with your team, for here it's the folks working on Project Excelsior. This is our team for that project. Posts is the chatter inside of a team. This used to be, Richard, help me out here. Didn't this used to also be conversations?
They used to say conversations, and then they changed the label to posts. I don't know if that's from some feedback or what have you, but yeah, that's where some of the confusion comes in because it used to say conversations.
And I think the reason they changed it is because if you're in the SharePoint site that's connected to this team, there's a link in the left nav called Conversations that took you into the group's email, the shared email. And you were like, what the crap, Microsoft? Give me some consistency here. There's a chance we still say that sometimes, but it's okay. So posts are the conversations we're having inside of a team with all of our teammates. Chat, that's our chit chat. Hopefully it's mostly work centered, but right, it's a chat platform. So I hope that helps. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that was well said. I would weigh in as well too, and just, add my own way of describing it, which is the chat is private. It's one-to-one or one-to-many communications. No one else in the organization can view or participate in chat unless they have been invited to the chat. Whereas posts inside of a Teams channel are by design, they're open and visible to anybody who is a member of that team, can see those conversations or discussions, posts. They can see those out in the open, and that's by design, again. So you can really think mostly of chat as that equivalent. If you come from the Skype for Business world, that's what we used Skype for Business for, was for being able to send those instant messages. Again, they were private between you and the person or persons that you were chatting with. Whereas posts in a channel are open by design in that case. Yeah, the way that I also tend to think about it, but again, there's no right or wrong way to do this, is that like Joy said, chat is when you are just needing to reach out to somebody and ask a quick question or get some information relatively quickly. If you start finding out that, or over the course of the chat, you start actually kind of doing work and you start really kind of getting into the meat of some information that more than likely would be beneficial to a larger group of people that are on your team, that's when I typically would recommend to move that dialogue or switch from doing it as private chat and try to find a team channel location that's appropriate to continue that dialogue. Because again, if you're really kind of trying to get work done, more than likely you could be doing that in a team channel somewhere where others could benefit from also having that discussion.
Yep. So in here, I'm chatting with Richard. It's like, hey, I have a quick question. You got gifs, you have emoji, so a wave, and I actually can be super annoying with gifs and emoji. If people don't respond to me in a quick amount of time, I will send the waving emoji, or I'll find a looking for you gif or something like that.
Yeah, one of my favorite things, if there's a use case for it, is that ability to set the importance level of a particular chat message. Again, that's a relatively new, if I say relatively new, if you go to the second icon there underneath the type a new message with the little exclamation point, and you can hit that and be able to see that importance indicator there. It's basically it's a priority indicator, or it's a priority setting that you can tell determine for a message. We've seen that be really relevant, like in healthcare industries and other types of industries where there's a need to be able to have that chat-based communication still. It's obviously going to be real time as opposed to email, which is considered asynchronous. But that ability to set the priority above a standard priority so that you could say something's important. Or the other one that I think is really interesting, if you hit that drop down or hit that button again, is the last one, which is the urgent priority. You notice that it says there that the recipient will be notified, or I like to say nagged, every 2 minutes for up to 20 minutes when you have that post. So again, it's going to sort of poke at that particular user repeatedly. So I'll do one here, and maybe you can see if we can just not reply to it or something and see what happens. But
sure.
I think that priority is pretty interesting.
We have a couple questions. What is the best to search keywords to find entire chats? And there's a second question. So it's a search question on chat. And address that one, and I'll ask the second one as a follow-up.
Okay. So let's see. Oh, there's that urgent one. This is the first time I've been sent an urgent message. Right now. So I'm going to ignore that because that's what I'm going to do. So you see I've actually done some searching here, this training or demo. The search queries that you use in SharePoint search, that might be another webinar. Single keyword search is the worst kind of search you can ever do because it's so generic. But if I can actually give it some queries, I'll get better. But let me see what's something I could do here. So Sway. So Sway's that kind of similar to PowerPoint application that's out there. And here is every time the word sway. That's my road noise. Apologies. Hashtag work from home. So here you go. So you can actually come in here and you can go through the messages. And when I click on it, that will actually take me into that conversation. So you can absolutely come up to the top and search. You will get good results. You can also use your search queries, such as, I know I'm looking for Sway, not PowerPoint. Sway or PowerPoint. Just make sure your operator is all uppercase. All right, and still I'm not responding to Richard. I'm going to hop over into our group chat demo. So just like chat can be one-on-one, I can also invite other people into a chat. If I wanted to start from scratch, I could use this almost invisible new chat button that's at the top and just start adding people in and create the new chat. But I've already got this demo up and going, and I've got a lot of people in here. I named it Group Chat Demo, so it's obvious what it is. I'm in the chat window. I've got 2 tabs, files, because you can share documents and files in chat. OneDrive is going to handle the management of those documents you share. If you drop the document into chat, you own it in your OneDrive. If Richard were to drop one in here, he owns it in his OneDrive. And there's a little place in OneDrive called Shared, and you can see Shared by you or Shared with you. And that's where you can go to kind of find that stuff. If we have time at the end, I can show that off. Yes.
So files within chat live only in that chat and not in any particular team?
Yes. So if I click on my tab here and I go to files, these are the files I have shared with the people in this group chat. There's my budget, there's a fake file, and there's a new demo. Tells you when, and if anyone else were to share a file in here, it would show that it was sent by that person.
Yeah, and to kind of add a little bit of additional information to the question, in chat, again, as we mentioned earlier, it is private communications between you and one other person or you and several other people. When you're doing file sharing inside of chat, it's actually leveraging OneDrive for Business behind the scenes for that file sharing. And to be really explicit, the person who initiates the share, that's where that file is being stored, is in that person's OneDrive. So again, there's a single location where everyone else then is being given read and or edit permissions on that file through the OneDrive of the person who initiated the share. And again, that's by design because it's all privately managed in that case. That's different than, again, when you're doing it inside of Teams and channels, which we're going to do in future webinars, where, again, all those files are being stored in SharePoint, and they're all available to everyone who's a member of the team, essentially. So, yeah, difference between chat. OneDrive for chat, SharePoint for Teams posts.
Yep.
Are you ready for another question?
Absolutely.
Okay. Is there any retention policy by Microsoft to remove chats?
There definitely is. Yep.
Go for it.
Sorry to jump in. Yeah, there definitely is. So Microsoft has had the ability to do create data preservation policies for quite some time now, where you can either set data to be retained for some length of period for a regulatory need or compliance need, as well as to be able to delete data as well too. They have now extended that capability also to Teams chat as well. So whether that be the private chat or posts inside of channels. So you can set up retention policies that will allow you to be able to say, after some length of time, delete data out of the chat for particular users and so forth. So there's a lot of flexibility in terms of how you can set that up. I'll have to go look up and see what is the kind of the minimum amount of time that you can do that. At one point in time, you could only delete it up to some length of days. I think a lot of people are asking, can you delete the data like as early as tomorrow or by the end of the day? And I'll have to go look that one up. I'll go look that one up. We can follow up with you on that.
Do you want to take a couple more questions, or you don't want to dig in some more?
Let me show a couple of little things, and then we'll jump back into questions.
Sounds good.
Perfect. So I've got my folks coming in saying hi to everybody. So that's the great thing about demoing from our environment is people chip in. So if we were brainstorming, maybe this is our brainstorm group chat. We're not ready to take it to the whole department channel yet, or our functional area channel. So we can come in here, have a little bit of conversation. If we wanted to kick off a call, I could use the video call button and it would dial and webcams would come on unless they chose not to when they join. Then if I just want to have a voice call, an audio call, I can come in, click that button, and it'll start ringing everyone through their Teams app on their mobile device if they have it installed and their desktop. Or sometimes, like maybe right now, life's a little crazy. The kids are running around. Maybe I really want to ping Steven and say, I'm getting the weirdest error. Can you watch what happens on my desktop? And I could just share my screen, either one-on-one or in this group chat. And people could see the steps that I'm taking, but with no sound. So I don't have to worry if the kids are running crazy or watching a movie or taking a nap, right? We just share that visual. And the last thing I'm going to show up here before we take another question is I can absolutely manage who is in this group chat. I see everybody that's a part of it. I can add more people. So I'm going to add, how about Stephanie? And notice it's asking me some questions here. My default, it's basically saying, are we going to share this with Stephanie? The default is don't include any chat history. So she would come in fresh. You wouldn't see any of these comments that are going on. Or I could include a certain amount of history. The default is 1 day. But if I take that out, notice it says, hey, you got to pick a number between 1 and 999. So I could maybe say, I'm going to share 42 days of history with her. Or heck, it's all part of the team, right? I could include all history. A little notice, Joy has added Stephanie, and I'm going to @mention Stephanie and say, welcome to the Teams chat demo. And I'm going to correct my spelling. Wow, it doesn't even know what to do with this. All right. Welcome Stephanie, and she's going to get a notification that she's been @mentioned, right? And she comes on in and has full history to this. Okay, Stacy, what was our question?
Okay, is the option to start an immediate meeting available from the chat window like it is in Teams meetings? If not, what would be the recommended process to quickly get that started?
So there's not the same button. So in our Teams, we have a little video camera down here and it says Meet Now for those that aren't familiar. And even if I click the More button, right, it's just other apps. But the replacement for that in chat is going to be just to do a call.
Mm-hmm.
It's just considered a little less formal since we're in chat. So I could do an audio call or a web call.
Okay. Next up, searches only within chat if executed from there, or searches all of Teams?
It is all of Teams. So if I search again for that word sway. So this was in our sales channel, our paid channel, sales. So it is going to be all of Teams. If I go to people, see if I had any one-on-one chat. So I don't have any just from people where the word sway is present. And then if I had files, right, I've got options there. So
Yeah, I was going to jump in if you'd leave that search result open.
Yeah.
Because that was related to another question. So once you've done a search, as Joy mentioned, the pane on the left-hand side there shows you a couple of primary categories of results, whether they be the message where the keyword was found, or if there was people from the keyword, or files where that keyword was found. However, you can then further filter that down so that you can really get specific in terms of finding what you're looking for. So for example, in messages, if you click the from or the type, there's a lot of rich additional information, especially with more filters. There's a lot of additional attributes here that you can then continue to further refine the information to say, when was it sent and what was the range, et cetera. So, there's lots of good ways that once you've typed in a keyword, you can then take the large amount of search results and then even filter them down further so you can find what you're looking for.
Power.
Yes.
Power. Looks like we've got more questions. You want to keep answering questions?
Okay, let's go. Can chat be used in place of a mic during a team meeting if your mic is unavailable?
Absolutely. That's a fantastic question. Yes, it can. So inside of any meeting, trying to think. this was a fake meeting Richard and I had. Notice there is chat here. So I can't actually go into the meeting because we're already in a pseudo meeting type thing, but there is chat. And anything that was said, in fact, this feel free to join now. I sent that to Richard in chat. So yes, and it's not uncommon at all. If maybe you're not getting things, maybe your headset's a little weird, for people just to drop a, hey, I can't figure out how to unmute my phone, but I'm here. I'll work on it in the background or something like that, and can put information in, drop links to files. Hey, I'm going to share this presentation as we go through the meeting, but here's the link to it if you want this for your own review later, right? Absolutely. That's a great question.
Next up, are you prompted for the OneDrive for Business permissions, view or edit?
Inside of a chat, is that the question there?
Yes.
Not currently, from my understanding. Currently, it's just when you attach a file and you're wanting to share it with someone else or a group of people, by design, it's sharing it with edit rights so that you can collaborate with the person with whom you're chatting and give them the ability to also edit the file. I think I have seen, and I'm going to have to go look back or ask somebody else who might have also seen this. Maybe you know, Joy. I think I've seen where Microsoft is trying to include that capability in the roadmap so that when you're initiating a share from a chat, you'd also have an option to change the permission before you send it to say, do I want to let this person maybe only view this particular file as opposed to also edit it as well? Do you know, have you seen that before? I think I've seen that before.
I haven't seen that. It's basically kind of creating its own little wormhole's not the right term. It tells you where my brain is today. Little permission link. It's presuming that okay, I'm sharing this with Richard, so I'm letting Richard have rights to it. If you want to control it first, what you can do is go through the steps to share a document and change that link to that they can read but not edit, right? Uncheck that edit box and then copy that link and post it in chat.
Exactly. Yeah, I get where the question's coming from, because in email, for example, if you're going to use the kind of modern way of sharing a file in email, when you quote unquote attach a cloud file from OneDrive, it does give you the ability to change whether it's edit or view before you send the email message. So it works in that way of sending it. And then similarly, when you go straight to OneDrive and you just say, I want to share a file from OneDrive, the common dialog box that pops up to say, with whom do you want to share it, also gives you the ability to change the permissions before you actually click send. So again, that's why I think I've seen that shown somewhere, either in somebody's demonstration or something from Microsoft, but I'll have to go back and see if that's the case. I believe that they probably would want to make that consistent.
Yeah, here's that box where I could lock Richard down and say, yeah, he can open it, but I took out the edit.
And don't let me download. Yeah, exactly.
Because I don't trust this guy, people.
You never know what I'm going to put in there.
Sketchy.
Looks like we got a few more questions. And I know we're running over on time, but
yes, but they're all three of the questions are all related to, can we delete chats?
That's up to your organization. So let's say maybe, see if I can delete my important chat. Maybe I've decided this isn't important anymore. So I do have the permissions, because it's set that way on our tenant through the Teams admin portal, to be able to delete my own messages. Do I have somebody's chat that I just want to delete altogether? Ooh, that seems harsh.
Yeah, I think, and you can see if that's the case or not, but by design, again, chats are persistent, so the data does live into perpetuity. You can, by default, have the ability to delete your own individual chat messages. I think somebody in the Q&A mentioned that exactly. But you can't delete another person's chat message. Again, that's by design. However, you can configure in the service, again, that ability to do retention policies that effectively allow you to be able to go in and remove chat data from the service as well too. And that's a very highly requested feature from businesses to Microsoft. And so again, I know that they have been making some strides towards that. You can do that. How quickly you can get that deleted is something that I put on my notes that I'm going to have to go look up and double check on that, because at one time it took quite some time, but I think you can probably do it maybe even as close as a day at this point. But we'll find out and let you know.
Fantastic. Want to take one last question and then we'll call it?
Sounds
yes,
good.
Okay.
But so I
Yes,
do
but.
have on the screen some things. Just keep in mind, you can customize your notifications in chat to make sure it's not becoming noise, but you're still getting what you need to. I won't really go through and demo that since we're short on time, but just know, click on You in Teams, go to Settings, and then look at your notifications to make sure that you're getting what you need and you're not getting stuff that's annoying you. I'll leave this here while we answer the next question.
Okay. Yeah, in chat, can you talk and share your screen?
If you do a call, okay, talk, I can share my screen without audio, or I can turn it into a call and share my screen and chit chat and do everything you would really do with like a one-on-one meeting.
Yeah, if you pull your Teams app back up again, you can see that, in a normal chat, up in that upper right-hand corner, you could do an audio call, you can do a video call. As Joy mentioned, in either one of those scenarios, you can then also share your screen, or you could just go directly to sharing your screen if you're not in a position to be able to talk or obviously have video cam going. You can just have a chat dialogue going while sharing your screen so that you can either show someone something or maybe get some help from them. Yeah, certainly can do that.
And I'm going to throw our contact information up. Lots of good questions. Thank you so much for asking, for joining, for being here. Tuesday, we're going to be doing another one, but it's going to be all about teams in Teams, right? The team button on the left rail. And I guarantee you we'll probably go over on time on that one too, because there's a lot to say. So just plan accordingly. Make sure you got your lunch, some snacks, and some caffeine there.
Yeah.
Richard and I have added our LinkedIn QR codes to this slide, so it would not hurt our feelings at all. If anyone out there just went ahead and connected with us on LinkedIn, would love to connect. We've got our Twitter codes up here. Please reach out. Let us know what you think about the webinar. Let us know what you would like to see in future webinars. Because we aim to please. We want to make sure you're getting what you need to make this chaotic time better and more helpful and easier. What's your favorite chat feature that maybe we didn't cover, Richard?
Oh, favorite chat feature. Well, I know in a future webinar, we're going to be focusing in on the mobile experience. And quite frankly, I use chat on the mobile device maybe as much, sometimes if not more, because I've got my mobile phone with me in my pocket all the time.
Yep.
And I love it because, again, it's such a familiar way of doing things when people are used to sending text messages. If you do iMessage on an iPhone, or if you do Google Chat on an Android device, it's just the same way of doing things. So I love that. If you want to consider that a feature, I love that.
Yep, and that is going to be a future webinar. We're going to have the next number of webinars lined out. We're going to be making that decision today on what episodes at least 5 and 6 are going to be. So if you want to vote on that, find us on Twitter and tell us, because we're looking. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.
Bye. Stay healthy.
Bye-bye.